Welcome to the Doubles Only Tennis Podcast, where you learn the best doubles lessons to improve your game and win more matches while getting to know some of the top doubles players and coaches on the planet. I'm your host, Will Bochek. This podcast, my weekly strategy newsletter, and my website all focus on the goal of better understanding the sport of doubles and helping players like you improve faster through actionable advice that you can use in your very next match. My goal is to provide the best doubles resources in the world. And to do that, I study, analyze, and work with players at every level of the game, all the way up to the ATP and WTA tours. If you enjoy this podcast, consider becoming a Tennis Tribe member to go even deeper and take your doubles IQ to the next level. Members get access to premium podcast episodes, weekly video lessons, monthly strategy webinars, courses, ebooks, gear discounts, and a lot more. Go to thetennistribe.com/memberships to see all the benefits and sign up. Here's today's episode. This is a conversation with Nicole Melichar-Martinez. Nicole is the number 16 WTA doubles player in the world. She recently made the Indian Wells semifinals. She won the title in Stuttgart, and she represented Team USA in Belgium at the Billie Jean King Cup. I had this conversation while Nikki was in Rome. We talked about the best meal she's had recently. I always chat food with Nikki when she's on the podcast. And then she talked about practice routines, physio, massage, and how all of that works kind of behind the scenes of a tennis tournament. A lot of listeners, you probably are not familiar with what goes on with the players when they're not on the court. And this is some really good insights that Nikki provides into how much time they spend even before they step onto the practice court. So you're going to learn a lot about that. After that, we talked about the clay season, her win in Stuttgart with Lyudmila Samsonova, also Billie Jean King Cup. I asked her about the Olympics coming up in a couple of years in 2028 in LA. And then we talked about singles versus doubles players and playing alongside them. This year, Nikki has been playing with singles specialists or singles players rather than a doubles specialist, and that changes what practice looks like for her. So she talks a little bit about that. Then we discussed Katerina Siniakova and Taylor Townsend and their recent run. I asked her what her goals are for the rest of the year, if there's anything she's working on specifically, and I loved her answer to this. And then at the end, I asked about marketing for doubles, specifically on the WTA side. So it's always fun chatting with Nikki. She is, like I said, in Rome preparing for that tournament at the time that I am recording this. By the time you listen to this, she'll probably have played a match or two in Rome. So be sure to follow along in Rome and throughout the rest of the year. So without further delay, enjoy this conversation with Nicole Melichar-Martinez. Hey everyone, welcome to the show. Today we have Nicole Melichar-Martinez on. Nicole, welcome back.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So you are joining us from Rome, where the tournament has not started yet, but we're in the middle of kind of the clay swing. We have Paris coming up. But before we get to doubles and tennis, you're also a self-proclaimed foodie. So I wanted to start with your best meal that you've had recently.
Recently.
Say last, like, during clay season, let's call it that. So last few
During
months.
clay season. Okay, in Stuttgart, there's this Italian restaurant, and it's probably the best Italian restaurant outside of Italy. And it's this family-owned restaurant, and the Italian food there was just incredible. I had basically Lyudmila Samsonova. She's friends with the owners, and she goes there almost every night. And the father, who's the main chef, comes to the table, and because he knows us, he's like, okay, what do you want? Like, he doesn't give us a menu or anything. Like, basically just whatever you're in the mood for, I'll make it for you.
I wouldn't even know what to order.
Yeah, well, this place is fantastic. It's called Vivaldi in Stuttgart.
Vivaldi, okay.
And yeah, the first night I didn't really know what to order either. And then I was craving eggplant parmesan. I'm like, can you make me an eggplant parmesan? He's like, yeah, absolutely. And so he made that, and it was delicious, and just
Yeah.
everything. And they'll just make stuff and bring it to your table. It's
Yeah.
fantastic.
That's awesome. So maybe that's the key to winning Stuttgart is go to Vivaldi.
Go to Vivaldi.
Um, you're in Rome right now. Like I said, the tournament hasn't started yet. What did you do today? How do you prepare for Rome playing with Christina Buxa?
Yeah, we practiced together this morning and did an hour and a half together off site and did some drills that, both of us maybe wanted to touch up on, like kind of together as a team, like serving and being on like the same side, against our coaches and working on some tactics and stuff. And then in the afternoon we played an hour of points against another team as well, so we tried to put that to work. The rain did it was raining for a bit, and we're supposed to play from 3 to 4, and we could only start at 3:15, so we only got 45 minutes, but we just kind of hurried up, warmed up quickly, and got our on-site court time, because obviously on-site is a little tricky. So yeah, that was basically more or less like the practice part of it. Obviously, in the morning before practice, I did an hour of gym before even the first session. And then after my second practice, I cooled down and then I went to see the physios. I had a massage, all that good stuff. So it's a lot
Yeah.
more goes into it than just the tennis part.
Yeah, this is a part that I feel like understandably like you and other players kind of y'all it's so second nature to y'all. Like obviously I did physio after and then dealt with this practice and but the listeners this is all kind of new to them, right? Like they're not familiar with y'all's kind of routines and schedules and stuff. So it sounds like you practiced off-site first.
Mm-hmm.
How does that process work at tournaments? Like it's probably like pretty difficult sometimes to get off-site courts, or is it easier at some tournaments than others?
It's more difficult. It's usually difficult to get courts on site. So normally
Mm,
the off site is where players don't really want to go because the courts might be a little bit different, or just, players are picky. They kind of preferably they want to practice on a match court. Ideally, or at least on site on the courts that are the most similar to the match courts. But with the singles and just so many players being around, the earlier in the tournament, the more difficult that is. So they have, I think, 4 or 5 different offsite practice clubs around Rome, which is
mhm.
actually a lot compared to other tournaments. Other tournaments normally maybe just have 1 or 2 offsite practices. But at least here, because there's so many, there's more courts, we can get more time. So it's kind of rare to be able to get, 90 minutes sort of like in the middle of the day. And we got, from 11 to 12:30. And the process is here. It's great. They have like an app for the players, which is kind of like Uber, except it only has the locations of the tournament, the hotels, and then the practice facilities, like just the few specific places that you can go. But basically you book it at least 2 hours in advance. So, the day before I booked it for the morning, and then I had them pick me up at my hotel, bring me to the practice site. I arrived just a little over an hour before my practice, so I got there at 9:45, and I did and they had a gym at the club as well. So I did an hour of gym work. So I ran a bit, I did some weights, I did my mobility stuff, I did my bands, I went through kind of like my whole routine plus some exercises that are in my current program, and got ready to play. And then I had pre-booked my car to take me from the practice site to the main site for after practice. Went and took a shower, had lunch, and then my practice was at 3. So at like 2:15, I needed a shorter warm up before my second practice because I had already been active that day. So I only needed maybe 30 or 40 minutes to warm up for the practice. And so I did my stuff in the gym to get ready. And then at 3 o'clock it was raining. So kind of we're like, walking out, walking in, like
Yeah.
how's the weather going to be? When can we jump on? But normally you would just hop on, do the hour practice, and then afterwards, I stretched with my coach and then went to take a shower. I went to the physio because sometimes on clay the ball is jumping a lot. So I was feeling my shoulder just a little bit tight. So I had some treatment on my shoulder. And then afterwards, I had a massage for an hour, just general for the whole body.
Hmm.
And yeah, so then got the car back to the hotel, walked with my husband, had some dinner, and now I'm here.
Yeah. Yeah, there's so much more involved than just playing tennis, which again, like y'all are used to, but I feel like a lot of the listeners love to hear stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of like physio and massage, this is something I haven't talked a lot about on the podcast. How often are you doing that? When are you doing it? And then uh do you have like specific things like you mentioned your shoulder, for example, like that you're having them work on, or is it more general? And then also, does the tour provides that, or the tournament provides that, right?
Yes, so the tour has their team of physios that travel to all the tournaments. It's not the same physios every week because there's multiple events every week. But it's the same, you'll see the same faces. So they'll get a schedule and but we know more or less all of them and they're all
Hmm.
great. And the massage therapists, there's some that travel on the tour, and then they also hire some like local people. But you normally the local ones have actually been working the tournament for several years, so like you'll only see them maybe at that event, but every year.
Hmm.
And I feel like most girls, they have kind of their, little aches or niggles, stuff that they have general maintenance on. So like me, for example, I mean, the shoulder was I was just feeling it a little tight today. But generally, I've always had issues with my low back. So my routine is, when I first arrive at the tournament, when I get off the plane, the first thing I do when I get to site is I go ask the physios to check my spinal alignment just to make sure everything is moving properly and stuff before I step on court, because sometimes you're sitting in funny positions and stuff. So that's like a routine that I do. And then also before every match I go and basically do the same thing. And I know players will come in and maybe have something warmed up, like a kind of like a massage, like a soft tissue warm up on like a certain body part, or maybe they'll be feeling a bit stiff, and if they can like somehow help loosen up the joints to like get a little bit more range of motion and things. So I would generally say players normally come in at the end of the day after their practices or matches are done, but they might come in a little bit occasionally before. Maybe they need tape if their quad is hurting, to get it wrapped up before they go on court, and then afterwards to treat it. So generally we're using the physios basically daily, and then one kind of treatment session, one kind of just like practice prep or match prep, or like a shorter session.
Hmm. Okay, that makes sense. And then what about massage? Massage is different, right?
So we have to like we have a booking link where we can go and book either 30 minutes or an hour, and then that is a service that they provide, but we have to pay for it. They take it out of our prize money, and
Mm.
then we just book it when as we feel. And then there's like a bumping system, so if a bunch of players are all wanting massages, you might have to get bumped from an hour to like 30 minutes. Or if there's really too many
Mhm.
players, then it goes based on priority. Did you have a match that day or not? Are you a singles player? Are you a doubles player? So they have, are you seated? Are you not? So they kind of have like an order, priority order.
Yeah, okay. So I want to move on to tennis. Stuttgart, obviously you won the tournament with Ludmila Samsonova. What went well that week? And I think you've won Stuttgart a couple of times now. I feel like made the finals in the last several years as well. What do you like about Stuttgart? What kind of works well for you there?
It was actually my first title there, but I have lost in two other previous finals, so third time's a
Two
charm for
finals.
me.
Okay, I knew
Yeah.
you had made some
hmm
runs there. Okay.
Yeah, no, and like last year with Luda, we played there. We made the semis, so had gotten
Mm.
like at least to the semis before as well. I think her and I had really a lot of fun that week. We were going for dinners together and stuff, and taking the Porsche out and driving it. So I think we really enjoyed. We hadn't played together for a while, so I think it was fun to kind of catch up and be on court together again. I love to play indoors, and I actually like a slower surface indoors. I feel the court there, it's very flat. There's not much wrong with it with the court, and it plays pretty quick for a clay court, but almost like a slow hard court. So it's kind of a nice happy medium. You don't have the sun or the wind or the other factors affecting. So you can really just sort
Mhm.
of like focus on your own game and not have to account for all the other things.
Mhm. What about so you've played, obviously being a doubles player, you've played with doubles players or double specific players in the past. And then last year and then this year you're playing with players who are also really good singles players. How does that change things for you? I know you said this morning you were able to train with Christina, which I know doesn't always happen, but talk a little bit about that and how you manage that and what the differences are.
Yeah, the difference is, well, this week she already lost in singles, so she's only left in the doubles. So to practice for her this time is easier. And other weeks, if she's doing well in singles and in doubles, then yeah, can't really get to practice with her as much. So that's a difference. So I get more court time one-on-one with my coach. So in a sense, it's good because I can maybe work on more things personally instead of always maybe as a team. However, then it does also make it harder for me to get court time because you don't have great priority if it's just yourself plus coach. So you have to go either early in the morning or late in the afternoon, not during like peak hours. Or if I want to practice with other players, sometimes I want to play points, but my partner isn't available. So then I'm having to, find another player that also doesn't have a partner to play with. And sometimes it's funny that we find four girls and all of them are partnerless, and then you put just four girls on the court together and like, okay, let's play some points.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, you also played Billie Jean King Cup recently. You had a win. The team unfortunately lost. Talk about that experience for you. How important is it for you to be able to play for your country? And then is the Olympics 28 on your mind as well?
I really enjoy playing the Fed Cup ties and or the Billie Jean King Cup ties and getting to know the girls. And I didn't really know Katie McNally that well. And I felt like we bonded well. We had some good practice sessions. We had dinner together. We even like went for kind of a stroll along the beach just to see around the city. The city was by the coast in Belgium. And yeah, I think the win was great. We were down 0-2, so obviously you feel a little bit of pressure just knowing that like, hey, if you don't win this match, then it's over. But at the same time, like, we're away, no one's cheering for us or anything. Like it was exciting to be there, and I really embraced the moment. And there was a moment in the match where we were up a set in a break. I think it actually no, a set in a double break, and we played a bad game to get broken back, and all of a sudden the stadium just like erupted, and people were like stomping their feet, and like the energy from the crowd was like it wasn't for us, but it was amazing. And I was kind of just like looking around, and I'm not really one to look around very much, and I was like, this is awesome, and it actually gave me energy. And then next game we broke, and then we held for the match, but I truly just enjoyed the experience, and I really liked being there.
Yeah, those team environments are so much fun. Um,
Hmm.
is Olympics 28 on your mind? Is that kind of a goal of yours, or you haven't thought that far ahead?
Honestly, not really. If it were to happen, then it happens, but I was honestly disappointed at the last Olympics that I didn't get to play. And it's based on the ITF rules. It's actually selection based. You can't qualify yourself as a doubles player. It goes based on the country and the teams that they want to put. So I, of course, if I were to make the team, I would absolutely love to play. It would be an honor, but it's not in my control, so I'm not really gonna dwell on it
Yeah.
too much.
Yeah. Understandable. I want to just a couple more questions and then I'll let you go. I want to talk a little bit about the run that Siniakova and Townsend have been on. They've won I don't know how many matches in a row now, but several 1000s in a row. What makes them so tough specifically? And then what does it take to beat a team that's on a streak like that? I know last year Townsend was on a similar streak, and I think you actually ended that in Cincinnati, if I'm correct, or maybe DC. I don't remember.
Cincinnati.
Um, Cincinnati, okay. So what makes them so tough? And then, yeah, what does it take to beat a team on a streak like that? What's your mindset when you face a team like that?
Well, I think the mindset is anybody going into a match up against them, they know they have nothing to lose, so they can swing free. Another thing is I think they've played so many matches. People can do their homework, and really, obviously, if they've been winning a lot, it's tough to find, the holes in the games. But for sure, there's a lot of content out there. If you go watch the matches and just try and pick things here and there that maybe is bothering them. But Taylor, she has a great serve. She plays aggressive. She covers the net well, and I think that's something she's been doing even better than before. And Kat, she's I feel like she's making more returns. She's really been solid with that, both for backhand and the forehand, especially. And I feel she's just making you play so many balls. She's solid from the baseline. It's tough. She's very confident in that backhand corner. So for her to win rallies, whether it's cross court or down the line, she's doing a great job. And I think they're covering the spaces really well. I think they've come together well as a team where they understand whose job is whose, and it's even tougher for the other players to find those holes.
Yeah, yeah, that chemistry matters so much. I feel like you see with a lot of teams, um, sometimes it'll take a few months, sometimes it'll take, longer. But there can be a little bit of I guess, a learning curve and then like a hump they get over when they start to really have that chemistry and like cover for each other a lot.
Absolutely.
So last two questions here. Any things that you're focused on specifically? This could be near term or long term goals throughout the rest of the year. Any skills you're trying to work on, tactics you're trying to improve, or things even on the mental side of the game that you're working on for the rest of the year?
Yeah, I mean, mentally, I've been working a lot. I feel like I've been trying to smile more on the court. That's something, even some people have commented on it that they've noticed it. So just trying to actually enjoy the moments on the court, whether it's going well or especially when it's not going well, to still be able to, smile and kind of, look at things how they are and not just maybe how they feel. Um, and then I'm always trying to improve whatever it is in my game. Obviously, on the clay, playing with a bit more shape and maybe using better placement rather than power. And then trying to be, good shot selection. If the ball is low, maybe keep it short. If it's high, obviously attack it and stuff. So things like that. Just trying to be smart on the court and consistently like look for the open spaces and play to the open spaces, because sometimes I feel like, at least for me, it's just it used to be so much power, 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 and not necessarily finding an option that's actually easier to play, and not just having to like smack it, but just play the right shot.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting hearing I don't know, seeing like I guess the development in players' games and maturity over time.
Hmm.
Like different, like a power style player like you develops control maybe later in their career, or tries to work on some of those things, to become a more well-rounded player.
Hmm.
Why is it important for you to smile even when things aren't going well?
Well, especially in doubles, I feel like the momentum shifts so quickly and so many times in a match, or at least it can, right? And you just don't know when that's going to be. And you can be down 40 love, and then all of a sudden you string 4 points together. You do get the break back, and all of a sudden you're right back in it. And so I think it's also important to realize like we're playing tennis as our job, and I think that's pretty great. There's many worse things in life we could be doing, and we go to these beautiful places. So for the couple hours, or maybe not even couple hours, for the 90 minutes that I am on the court, um like I do love the game of tennis, and I feel like sometimes I get lost in the results of it as opposed to the experience of it. So it's, just to acknowledge the fact that I'm in a battle, that I'm on the court. Okay, things aren't going my way, but I can still problem solve and I can still somehow figure it out. And if you have a clear mind, it's maybe easier to find solutions.
That's a great answer. I love that. Last question for you. Obviously, as you know, with this podcast and then Tennis Tribe in general, I try to help promote doubles and make it more popular. Are there things that you've noticed the past few years that the WTA is doing or that the majors are doing to help promote doubles? Anything you've noticed with the marketing? What changes have you seen from a player's perspective?
Well, I have seen on social media that they are trying, especially like towards the tail end of tournaments, to promote more, on Instagram, maybe specifically with the reels, and or like in the trophy presentation, or sending out the messages like, "Hey, we won." And I know they're doing the same for singles, but they're doing it as well for doubles. So just trying to do both. I think they're trying to stack the doubles, in spots like later in the week, where, to get us on bigger courts, like here in Rome, for example, and start instead of starting us this past week on Thursday and then potentially having several days in between tournaments. They're seeing, I don't know how it's going to go, but they're like, you know what, let's start the tournament on Sunday, and then some of the singles rounds will have already played, and then maybe we can get you players on, the outs, like the bigger courts, Pietrangeli, or some of the bigger little stadiums. And I think people with grounds passes will definitely come and watch. So I do feel they are trying. I don't know if everything is, working or not, but they are putting the effort, and I think they're trying to feed back on, okay, what is working, what isn't, and then maybe catch momentum here and there. So
Yeah.
yeah, they are. Um, can they do more? Absolutely, and I'm, up for anything where they can do more. But I will give it to them. They are putting an effort.
Yeah. I think seeing that progress and the effort is really what counts. And if
Hmm.
that continues, then I think it can, develop some momentum. So, anyways, Nicole, thanks so much for coming on again and best of luck in Rome.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of the Doubles Only Tennis Podcast. If you're interested in diving deeper into the world of doubles strategy, I've created Tennis Tribe memberships that allow me to bring you more podcast episodes, video lessons, webinars, and other doubles content on a weekly basis without relying on paid ads. The lessons inside the membership will help you better game plan with your partner, optimize your practices, and become the smartest player on the court. Go to thetennistribe.com/memberships to learn more and sign up. You can also join my free newsletter on our homepage, where I share a new doubles lesson every week. If you want to connect, you can find me on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, or contact me through our website. Thanks again for listening.